was Washington versus Wall Street on Capitol Hill. For more than 10 hours, a Senate panel grilled current and former Goldman Sachs executives over how the firm marketed mortgage-related investments when the housing market was starting to slip. One of the main charges the senators leveled against the bank that Goldman sold investors securities, then bet against them without telling the buyers. Time and again, the executives denied any wrongdoing, instead saying the financial meltdown was the result of industry-wide problems.
I think it's clear that credit standards overall got loose.
Got what?
Loose, too loose.
Okay.
And that there were assumptions made, and I think risk overall wasn't respected across the industry, and we participated in that industry.
Do you, on behalf of Goldman, accept any responsibility for the collapse of 2008?
Yes.
The Goldman execs weren't just hounded by senators. A group of costumed protesters jeered as they entered the chambers. And joining us now from Washington is Peter Morici, professor of economics at the University of Maryland. Peter, good to have you here.
Nice to be with you again.
Did Goldman have a case whatsoever today?
Absolutely not. They knowingly sold investors securities that they knew would fail. The kind of language in their own emails and correspondence indicate that they were selling essentially bogus bonds to securities. It may have been that the whole industry melted down, but they knew it was melting down when they sold the securities to unwitting investors. You know, it's kind of like selling someone a car that you know is going to break down 100 feet from the lot and telling them it's a cream puff. They believe you because they trust you. Goldman Sachs lost a lot of trust today.
Goldman, at one point, the executives said that they felt that investors should investigate what they're investing in more closely. Is this the attitude on Wall Street that we should come to accept?
Well, whether we come to accept it or not, it is indeed the attitude on Wall Street is buyer beware. But they've created such complex and arcane securities in an effort to jack up their bonuses and increase their fees that they really can't be understood. If they're going to take this posture, then it's going to be impossible to package loans that ordinary banks make and sell them to investors and get the kind of financing we need in the housing market. You know, one of the reasons all the regional banks don't have money anymore to loan folks, businesses, individuals, and so forth, is because their loans can't be sold because of the behavior of Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is not vital to American capital markets anymore. It's destroying them.
Now, this comes in the midst of financial reform debate. What do you think, in your opinion, because you've been watching this really closely, needs to happen from Washington so that we don't see something like this, the recession and all the problems we've been having, ever happen again?
Well, we need to do something about these mortgage-backed securities, make sure that they are understandable and that investors know what they're getting when they buy them. Sadly, these financial reforms won't do that. All the focus has been on derivatives, which are insurance policies on these mortgage-backed securities. And while there's some problems there, they were not at the root of the problem. Goldman Sachs stock went up today. And the reason is it looks like these financial reforms will go through. Goldman Sachs will get off. Business will be as usual, and we'll face another crisis a few years from now.
And for that other crisis, do you think we could move potentially from mortgage-backed securities to some other area of business that we might, as the general public, not even expect?
Absolutely. It's very difficult to see the next crisis. Henry Paulson, while he was Treasury Secretary, knew about the special investment vehicles where banks and investment houses such as Goldman Sachs would park these mortgage-backed securities, and he saw no danger in them. Creating an oversight board, as this legislation would do, won't make these regulators any more clairvoyant than they were before. It is very difficult to anticipate a crisis when people are engaged in unethical behavior and they can hide their shenanigans even from the best investors.
I know that you're not too confident about the reform that is coming down the pipeline could potentially be passed, but do you think from a political standpoint, what we saw today, these kind of hearings will help push something through Congress?
Absolutely. I think that was the whole agenda today, was to give more push to the Democratic proposals. And it's kind of sad. The Democratic Party gets the majority of campaign contributions on Wall Street. Wall Street is an enormous donor to congressional senators and, Democratic senators and congressmen. So essentially, Wall Street is getting the reforms it wants, reforms that won't have much of an impact. And today was a bit of a show in my judgment.
All right, Peter Morici, professor at the University of Maryland. Peter, thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.